What's going on, DJBooth.net? This is DJ Blaze, Kareem Julian, and I'm coming at you to give you a full video review of the new Numark 4TRAK digital DJ controller for Traktor. Alright, so here it is. This is the Numark 4TRAK digital DJ controller, and it's basically a controller built in conjunction with Traktor and Numark, and it's made to line up perfectly with Traktor Pro 2, and that's why it comes bundled with the Traktor Pro 2 software. So to get started, we're just going to look up the overall impressions and the setup first and foremost, and the overall impressions are nothing short of basically amazing. This controller is built very solid, very tough. It's a heavy duty, all metal steel chassis. Everything has a nice silver color to it, silver and black. It just stands out amongst the crowd of other DJ controllers out there. Everything is laid out very nicely with the actual Traktor mapping, so you're getting a nice one-to-one operation. You have your effects modules up here right where they should be. Your filter controls are right here, central to right where your actual line controls would be. And everything is mapped very nicely. You have tightly mapped jog wheels, tightly mapped crossfader, and a lot of other functions here that is just mapped nicely to Traktor. And everything is just put exactly where it needs to be. And it's built very, very tough, very, very solid, good for mobile DJs and people who are going to move the system around, or people who just want a system that's going to last them for a very, very long time. You have a user replaceable crossfader and a lot of other things that Numark did to this unit to make sure it was tough and built right, so that way it will last you a long time. So everything is built nice and solid. Everything is heavy duty, tough quality. One of the best I've ever seen on any DJ controller out there, period. So next up, we'll move along to the setup. The setup was very simple. You just attach the actual FX module to the unit. This comes separate. It's like a separate bar. It's very close to, without that bar on there, it would be very close to the Numark NS6. A lot of the functions and buttons and crossfaders and jog wheels are borrowed directly from the NS6, and we reviewed that last year, and that was an excellent controller and one of the best controllers for Serato. But you know, Numark wanted to build something for the Traktor users that had that same type of quality, and this is what you get. This is basically like the brother of the NS6. It's the 4TRAK edition, meaning it's built for Traktor. So for the setup, again, you install your FX controller up top, install it, and we'll show you that in the next quick section. And you plug in your USB cables, plug your USB up to your computer, plug in your RCAs or your XLR for your master output, and then you're ready to go. You plug in your USB to your computer, and then you run the Traktor Pro 2 software on your computer. Comes with the full featured Traktor software. You have all your cue points, all your loop functions, all of your effects. Everything is built right in. You plug it in, and you're basically ready to go right out of the box as soon as you get it rolling. If you want to add additional decks, you can actually have up to 4 different decks here, and they're all controlled by your line faders. And you do not have to use the computer in order to use this unit. You can use it as a standalone mixer. If you just switch these controllers over here to line type inputs, then you see everything goes off here and here. That's because now your A and B are designated for your external decks, whether they be vinyl or whether they be CDJs or however configuration you want to use them in. Switch that back over to PC and they go back to virtual decks. Okay, now to talk about the setup a little bit more, I'm going to show you guys all the inputs and outputs, as well as how the actual effects bar gets installed to the 4TRAK controller. So the effects bar is to control the effects within Traktor. If you guys see the front, when we go over the effects in a little bit, I'll show you how all of the controls line up perfectly to Traktor, and all your effects are easily accessible. So this bar was a must for Numark to include in the design. So basically, in order to install this bar, you have to use your hands to untighten these screws here, and you slide the bar on. It guides itself within these grooves, and then you lock it down by finger tightening these screws once again. Now you have your bar installed. So next up, you have to grab the USB that comes with the bar. You throw it into the controller, and the bar itself has a permanently attached USB cable that goes back over to your computer. So that's how that works there. So you only have one USB cord to plug into your computer, even though it's a 2 USB cord type design. Only one of the cords will go to your computer. The other one is for the effect bar to give power or control to the Numark 4TRAK. Next up in the corner you have your power switch, on off. Everything is metal, solid metal construction. Here on the bottom you'll notice there's cutouts. This is for easy transport, so you can grab the controller and move it about. Next up is the actual DC input, and that is a power pack style input. Next up you have your balance outputs, and this is XLR configuration. After that you have your master RCA outputs, one or the other, and you also have your booth output with a separate booth control knob on the top. So you do have your two outputs here. These are in RCA as well. Then your 4 channels, channel D, B, A, or C. They're all have line level channels. RCA inputs here. You have RCA for D, B, A, and C. So you can use this as a standalone mixer and control up to 4 of your external decks or 4 of any type of source with RCA line level inputs. Only A and B can be used as phono decks. So if you want to use your phono decks, only A and B, and you do have a ground post over here for your analog vinyl decks. But D and C can now be used for microphone inputs as well. So you have the options here galore. You can have 2 microphones, 2 analog decks, or 2 CDJs, 2 turntables. However configuration you want, Numark has you covered here with a good set of inputs and outputs. Next up, we'll just go over the front controls. That way you guys can see them, get that out the way. On the left, well, everything on the left is crossfader controls. You have your deck choice, where you can choose which side of the crossfader your deck resides on. Either the left side of the crossfader will mean that you can push your C and A over to that side and they'll be on the left, and B and D, you push that over to the R, they'll be on the right. Or you can mix it up in any configuration you want, or you can switch them all in the middle and the crossfader will do nothing to change what's going on with your decks. Next up we have the crossfader curve control, which is a nice knob here, and you also have fader start and stop controls as well for your decks here. Next up is your headphone control section. They have the split Q headphone section. That way one of your headphones can play what's going on in the master, and the other side of your headphone can play what's going on in the Q section. You also have a Q master blend knob, as well as a Q headphone minimum maximum volume adjustment knob, and you have both a 1/4 inch and the mini headphone jacks in the front. Okay, so after the setup, we'll just run down the different sections of the mixer. And the mixer section of the controller is right here in the middle. This is where you have your crossfader. Your crossfader on this Numark 4TRAK is excellent. It feels very, very good. It has a nice definite throw to it. Very, very nice for scratching. It has a very low 1 millimeter or less cut-in distance, meaning your sound comes on almost immediately when you move the crossfader over when you are set to your sharpest curve setting. Very nice for scratching. One of the best I've felt here on a digital DJ controller. And it's definitely better than most that are around, and most that are found on a digital DJ controller. You're also able to switch this fader out for something else that you may see out there on the market, possibly an Inno bender or something of that nature. You have a type of Allen key screws here you can take out, and you can replace your fader either for the same one or for something else that you want to put in there. So very good to know that you can replace that crossfader. Very loose to the throw, and you have all of your curve adjustments on the front. You have your line faders here. They all match up with Traktor. Everything you're doing on your controller is done on screen. Everything is MIDI mappable. All of your controls are mapped to the actual Traktor software, and you have a little bit more resistance in the line faders. They don't feel exactly the same high quality as the crossfader, but they're good nonetheless, and they'll probably, suit you just fine. Above that, you have the PC to line level selector switches, which I showed you earlier. If you want to use your line levels or your mics on the rear of the unit, you switch these over to the right. If you want to use it with the PC mode, you just keep it over there to the left on PC mode. Also with that, if you want to use this type of setup with a digital vinyl setup, you can also do that, but you need to purchase an additional Traktor audio interface such as the Audio 4, Audio 6, Audio 8, or Audio 10. That way you'd be able to use your external timecode decks as long as you plugged it into that audio device first and then back into the 4TRAK. That way you'll get external control of your decks as well. Next up, you have your Qs, your Q buttons here for each of your separate lines. You can have the Q section. That means everything you have in your Q in your headphones here will be in your headphones on the Q section, and you adjust your Q knob to the actual master mix or Q depending on what you want to hear in your headphones. Next up, you have your 3-band EQ. These are full kill EQ. You got your bass, mids, trebles, and the gain knob on the top for each of your levels. You have a master LED strip here. You can only see the master. You won't be able to see your individual lines. So for those of the users that want to see their individual line levels, you can't do it here on this unit. It's only master LEDs in the middle there. Next up, you have the effects buttons. This way you can turn on the effects or off depending on which deck you're currently using. You can turn off or on the effects individually, FX Module 1 or Module 2. You can turn them off and on nice and easily from here. Your Module 1 is there, your FX2 is there. Next up, you have your browsing section. This allows you to browse through your tracks and easily select them on the fly. You can use either the navigation tree and browse through the tree of your different albums or artists, and you can press the songs button. That way you'll be navigating through your songs, and then you can go through your favorites as well. So very intuitive controls here, and you can load it onto whatever deck you happen to have active at the time. Next up, we have a key section here. In the key section, you can actually change the key of the song or the pitch without changing the actual speed of the song. Very nice to use, pretty cool, something new. Next up, we'll talk about the actual decks, and the deck portion are found on either side of the mixer. And you'll notice there's only 2 decks, but it is 4 channels. There's a layer button here. When you're in deck A, you're using your deck A controls, and now this is a deck A jog wheel. When you press C, now you're using deck C controls, and this is the C deck. Same goes for the B and D on this side. Depending on what layer you're in, it'll let you know what you are manipulating. Next up, we have your play, cue, and sync button. Play, pause, everything's self-explanatory there. You have your hot cue buttons down at the bottom. These are 5 hot cues. Very easy to set. You set your hot cue by pressing the buttons, and then to delete them, you just press Shift. So we'll do that really quickly here for you guys.
Yeah. I am smoking on that gas. Like to be on Cinemax movie. Fuck my on that gas. On that. I should be on movie. Fuck my boot bigger than bigger air.
Very easy to use the hot cue section there. Nice and simple. You have your pitch slider here. Feels nice and secure. There's no center click. There's just a center light to let you know when you're at absolute 0. Pitch bend buttons in order to get the perfect speed for your mix. You have a range button. The ranges in Traktor are very small increments. You can bring it all the way from 2% all the way up to 100%. You can set either deck as a master, and you can set your jog wheel as scratch or as normal. So with this particular jog wheel, it's just like with the NS6. Your mapping is perfect with Traktor 1-to-1. There's a lot of controllers out there where the complaint is with Traktor, it's not mapped 1-to-1, but this was developed with Traktor. So your mapping on your jog wheel is 1-to-1 perfect. Bigger air, That's when you have it in scratch mode. The outside ring becomes a pitch bend mode. That way you can get in order to get the perfect speed that you need. There's also a strip search at the top. That way you can search between your track. You see, we're just at the beginning of the track, so you only see the first 2 LED lights lit up here at the top. But as you progress through the track, you'll be in different areas of the track within the strip. In order to search between that track with the strip, you just use your finger and you bring it to where you want to bring it to. Next up, we have your loop controls. Your loop control section is here. You have your loop in and out. You have auto loop and auto loop 1 through 4. You also can change the loop length, half it or double it, and you can shift the loop to a different section.
Top down, on the block with a block out. Hit your air, so that's block out. Double hit your air, so that's block out. Double hit your air, so that's hit your air, hit your air, hit your air, so that's block out. Double up and go in your nostril.
Next up, you have your effects section. Your effects bank 1 and bank 2 are at the top here. You set your effects up within Traktor. There's a bunch of effects in Traktor, at least 20, and you can set them up any way you want, full featured software. So
girl kidnapper, don't try to pull that side. It's cornered in my car, and yo went in my switcher. So good, I'm getting so vicious. All I get is shit, like I'm taking pictures.
I say, unless I'm gonna take you out of the crib, real for me, I know that.
So basically that's the controller, the 4TRAK in a nutshell. And in conclusion, it's an excellent controller, one of the best, if not the best, Traktor controller that I have ever used. It's built so tough. It's one of the sturdiest controllers out there on the market today. There's no doubt in my mind that, you know, if somebody wants to buy just a controller and they're saying, I'm not going to DJ with decks, or I'm not going to buy another mixer, and I just want to buy the ultimate controller to control Traktor, this may very well be it. It's very professional. It's good for playing out, good for mobile DJs, good for bedroom DJs, good for beginners too, because, you know, you buy right the first time and you won't have to buy again. So we're going to recommend this to any DJ who loves Traktor, who wants to use an ultimate controller with Traktor. This is it. You also have the opportunity to grow with a DVS system. You can put your inputs into that DVS actual sound card and put it back into the 4TRAK and still have your external decks. So you do have room to grow. But my minor gripe with the unit is that unlike the S4, where you can just plug your external decks directly into the 4TRAK, on the 4TRAK you'll need an actual audio interface in order to do that. But that doesn't hinder from the performance of the actual 4TRAK as a whole. It doesn't take away from anything. It just means when you're ready to upgrade, you might want to upgrade that as well. Other than that, super solid controller, perfect for Traktor, perfect Traktor mapping, nice crossfader, and there's just not too many things that you can say bad about the unit at all. Works as a standalone mixing console, and it comes bundled with the full featured Traktor 2.5, because you get the free upgrade to 2.5 once you get the 2. So, for the full written review, you can head on over to www.djbooth.net/DJS, and you can also follow me on Twitter. That way you get all your DJ equipment updates first and foremost. It's at DJBlaze_DJ Booth, and keep subscribing to the YouTube channel, which is Real DJ Blaze. Thanks for watching.